G'day everyone. I normally start my videos with a quick introduction on the background on my thoughts or reasons as to why I picked the watch I'm reviewing in the video. But for something completely different, I might just omit that part, cut to the cheese and get straight into reviewing. So with that said, let's start inspecting the Bulova Surveyor 96B427. So here's the specs list for the details, including case measurements, features, and price. As always, if you like my content and haven't had the chance till now, a like and subscribe is always appreciated. The first, and probably the most positive thing you'll notice about this Surveyor example, is that light pistachio green dial. And if you have a thing for green dials, but I promise that when you see this, it will be a case of love at first sight. Even in low lights, fat green has a very colourful presence where you won't miss it. But I feel this Surveyor screens the sunlight because once you get it outside, that dial just jumps to life where it becomes almost impossibly radiant, especially with the inclusion of that sunburst that dances everywhere. I don't want to waste too many words here, but that green in the light is just magnificent to behold. Given this is a dress watch, the rest of the dial's content has been done tastefully for good balance of subtlety and elegance. Printed under the 12 indices is the bull of the namesake, and above the marker at 6 o'clock, you have the automatic text with 21 jewels underneath. Keeping to the Bulova's name and font style, the text is modest in size and only draws your attention when you need to read it. Pointing out at the time these noon baton hands that are appropriately sized in length and thickness for relatively easy time telling, along with an ultra-thin silver seconds hand. Running around the outer edge of the dial, you have the applied rectangular silver indices at every hour interval, with a slightly thicker marker at the 6 and 9 positions with a slight arrow point, and the oh-so-familiar Bulova tuning fork logo taking center stage at 12. The 3 indices is smaller and makes room for the date complication. One small thing I really appreciate about the date text is that it follows the sans serif theme of the dial text a bit. It's not obvious, but it appears slightly different compared to your standard date complication on other budget watches, and that helps to give it some extra character. In between the hour indices, you have these debossed markers which add another interesting display element on the dial, which I'll talk about later. And wrapping up the dial, you have a very faint blink and you miss it minutes track on the outer chapter ring with the relevant numerals at every 5-minute interval. I know I've already raved about the dial, but I love how Bulova seems to know it's the draw card for this timepiece, and to emphasize that, they deliberately condensed most of the dial's features so that the green shimmer it emits won't be obstructed so you can be mesmerized by its beauty. And as a quick reminder, if you like the Surveyor but this green is in your bag, you can also purchase it in a variety of other, more subdued colorways. But the charms of the Surveyor don't just end with the dial. The case slides don't follow a curve, but instead have these angles that give the Surveyor a slightly hexagonal look when viewed from above. From a structural integrity standpoint, I don't know if this makes the case more or less robust, but it's not a design feature you'll find on most watches, and especially not at its price. The case in general has a high polish on every surface, and on general inspection I can't seem to find any foot or finishing issues, which is always a plus. My concern is that any marks or scratches will show up clearly, but again, this is a dress watch, so you won't be wearing it in rough situations. Although the inclusion of a flat sapphire crystal means you won't worry about any accidental scratches. Regarding the Surveyor's dimensions, I'm actually quite happy with them. At a finch under 39mm in diameter, a little over 45mm lug to lug, and just under 12mm, it's a watch that'll fit most wrist sizes comfortably. Dress watch purists might say it's too large for its purpose, but given that watch dimensions have grown over time for the most part, I feel this sizing is a nice compromise between classic and modern. One other feature of the Surveyor I'll rave about is the supplied brown leather strap, and I cannot fault it at all. The top part has a synthetic feel to it, but it's very soft and still feels good quality. The genuine leather underneath is both durable and supple, and molds easily to the wrist, so after 1 or 2 wears, it'll fit and feel perfect. The colorway on the strap suits the dial to a T, and to complete the classy look, it includes a buckle stamp with the Bulova logo. It is so darn good, you probably won't bother with any aftermarket options. If Orient are watching this video, they should take note if they decide to upgrade the straps on their Bambinos. But if for any reason you opt for a different strap, the 20mm lugwork will give you plenty of choices. The screw-down caseback of the Surveyor allows you to view the movement and its rotor in action, and on the mineral crystal cover, you also have the Bulova name and logo printed for some added visual appeal, along with the specifications etched into the case. Not jaw-dropping, but nice enough. And the screw-down feature is a bonus if you need to access the movement. And speaking of which, the movement is an automatic which adds more old-school charm to the Surveyor. a Japanese Miyota 8215 to be specific. It's a cheap but reliable workhorse, and it won't be too hard or expensive to source a replacement or parts for repairs, but it still has that reputation for the stuttering seconds hand. In its defense, I barely notice that quirk, and that's only if I'm looking up close. I only have one mixed feeling at the Surveyor, and that's to do with its push-pull crown. The crown itself looks great, being designed with the Bulova logo and having enough knurling to make gripping it an easy task, but one end of movement feels a bit too tight and stiff. Over wear and time it has loosened a little, but it still has some firmness to it. And while the crown's overall size works well with the Surveyor's design, it does mean you'll need to pinch it tighter to get a good wind action. If it didn't have that resistance, it would be a more straightforward task. But on a happier note, the push-pull action is fairly easy to operate, and adjusting the time and the date, I'm happy to report, it's also a simple affair. But this also leads me to my negatives. The day complication includes a Cyclops, which normally aids with reading its details, but I found there to be a lot of reflection on that magnifier, and so I need to adjust my wrist and sometimes my location to get a better read of it. Those DBOS markers I mentioned earlier running around the outer dial would have been perfect for tracking minutes, but as you can tell, there's 5 in between each hour marker, so it's inaccurate for that purpose. And if you're somebody that likes to set their time accurately to the minute, this can be very distracting and a tad frustrating, especially as the presence of the actual minute track around the chapter ring is very minuscule. The Surveyor only comes with 30 meters of water resistance, and while that isn't enough to survive general splashes from rainfall and dishwashing, it's still a rating I don't take chances with. The loom, well, it exists. It's only applied to the hour and minute hands, and its strength is limited at best. You'll be lucky to get around 25 minutes of nighttime checking before it's completely gone, so don't expect any checks at 4 AM on your bedside table. And it's those last 2 points that kind of spoil the Surveyor for me. It is marketed as a dress watch, and I have to accept that, but this design had all the trimmings and potential to be a great garden watch, and, dare I say it, a Seiko and Citizen killer. If it included some decent loom on those hands and splashed them on the indices for equal measure, and even just given it 50 meters water resistance for a little more cost, it would have given the Surveyor so much more versatility and make it a strong contender against the likes of the Ciosa and some 5 modders. But as it is, it just feels like an incomplete package, a missed opportunity that relegates it to the casual and fancy wear occasions. And as I reach the end of this review, I understand my last comments are rather harsh and even unrealistic. After all, the Surveyor is advertised as a dress watch. But there is so much I love about the Surveyor, and there's so many things it does right. And I guess that's why my criticisms at the end were so strong, because if a Surveyor had included some of those features I mentioned before, it would be oh so close to being the perfect watch and a no-brainer to recommend. So would I still recommend a Surveyor? Well, if you're looking for a nice-looking modern dress watch that'll be worn in casual and relaxed settings, then it's still an easy yes. Granted, you won't want to get the Surveyor wet or dirty, but for only $250 US, and sometimes cheaper if you shop around, the watch still offers a reliable automatic movement, sapphire crystal, a unique case design, a strap that's one of the best stock offerings I've ever encountered and worn, and a green dial that is dazzling to behold. Best of all, it comes from a reputable watch brand that also has horological history. If you currently or previously owned a Bulova Surveyor, I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. And if you prefer my quicker introduction earlier or not, let me know in the comments. But that's it for now, thanks for watching,